Part 46. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 453. Han Qian was tortured by Yan Qingqing to the point where he was exhausted mentally and physically. He had nothing to say about the good-tempered people around him. Later, Yan Qingqing got tired from playing, and Han Qian was relieved. He was just lying on the sofa to rest when Wu Qingxi came over. Han Qian, how have you considered the script I mentioned? As a report, I can satisfy your request, any request. Let me touch your ass. Han Qian closed his eyes and opened his mouth without thinking. Wu Qingxi said angrily. Are you going to die? Find another one. Then touch my butt. Then Wu Qingxi pinched Han Qian's face. Han Qian was furious, sat up and said angrily. Do you want to film this matter as soon as you say it? Feng Lun's matter originally had a great influence, and now this person has not been arrested. Do you know how to film a TV series? Half of it? Wu Qingxi nodded in agreement. What you said makes sense. I really plan to shoot half of it. It mainly tells the story of how an ordinary person embarks on an extraordinary road step by step. Han Qian frowned and said angrily. I don't think you're looking at Feng Lun. You humming want to take a picture of me. Cai Qinghu, who was chatting with Yan Qingqing on the side, gently reminded Han Qian to pay attention to his tone and not always use bad words. Han Qian hummed and then lay down on the sofa again. Wu Qingxi changed positions and continued to ask. Han Qian, how much do you know about Feng Lun? For example, the motive for this crime, why he wanted to kill the hotel lobby manager, what grudges he had with Feng's Haida, and how Feng's Haida is doing now. The series of questions made Han Qian a little irritable. He opened his eyes and looked at Wu Qingxi and replied in a deep voice. Even if I tell you clearly, you can't film this scene. You also know what happened at Yuanzhi Kailong that day. Some people at the gate exposed other people's crimes. Whether it's true or false, there are people in the Yamen gate now. No officials were investigated for this matter. Why? Because of shame. I also know the motive of Feng Lun's murder. Manager Datang died unjustly. Feng's Haida is dead now. The internet for these things has been blocked. There is a lot of information for the people in the city. I don't know, where do you think you can film it and show it? First of all, you won't be able to pass the review, and then do you know how many people you will offend if you make this movie or TV series? Wu Qingxi nodded as if she understood, then pointed to Cai Qinghu and said. I won't make this movie myself. I will talk to the leaders of the province. If the provincial government office needs a TV series like this to promote that there is not only darkness in the government office, but also a bright side, what do you think of this TV series or movie? Will Feng Lun choose to surrender? Childish. You can finish the movie in 1 year, but what about the TV series? 1 year too? What will happen to the funds then? Are you asking Cai Qinghu to spend money on you? Will the provincial publicity office agree, or will the radio and television pass the review? You don't need to worry about these. You tell me the reason, I will write the script, I will pay you, and the rest has nothing to do with you. No matter, I don't want to cause trouble for myself. You go to the prison to find Toad and Zhang Song and let them explain it to you. I've been there, but they didn't say anything and didn't know anything. Han Qian. Wu Qingxi began to act coquettishly, but this was of no use to Han Qian at all. It even made Han Qian a little sleepy. Seeing that the matter was about to fall apart, Wu Qingxi turned to look at Cai Qinghu. Hu, please help me. Say it again. Mr. Yan, I can endorse and promote your Honor Home Plaza. Please help me persuade Han Qian. If I can really film these dramas, I will play with many veteran actors, and I can take a step forward. Yan Qingqing ignored Wu Qingxi, looked at Cai Qinghu and said softly. If Han Qian agrees, will there be any danger or trouble? Cai King Hu shook his head gently. There shouldn't be much trouble. We need to ask Cheng Jin first about this matter, then ask for the opinions of the province, and finally the radio and television company responsible for reviewing the script. If these three are successful, Han Qian will not be it has any influence, but there is no benefit, it's just the 2 cents promised by little Labo Sier. Yan Qingqing frowned and said in a deep voice. 2 cents? How much is that? 3 to 500,000, or 6 to 700,000, definitely not more than 1 million. In fact, I don't think Han Qian needs to earn this amount of money. My money in the bank will be paid out after a few months of interest. Xiao buying half a car. How much can you give me? Han Qian interrupted the conversation between the two women with an exclamation. He sat up and looked at Wu Qingxi with red eyes. The latter made a gesture and shook it towards Han Qian. 600,000. Please tell me in detail. I assure you that this TV series will be filmed, and you will give me 1 million. No, I don't have that much. 800,000. I only have 600,000, and the rest will be returned to Hu. Han Qian sighed and said helplessly. Then I'll tell you in detail, what about that, when will you pay me? Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian's hopeless look and couldn't help but curse in a low voice. This miser is sick again. You can have everything if you save some money. The money you gave away is more than 600,000. Yu Shisi's a 7, Jijing's 100,000, and nursery rhymes 110,000. Although the car you made when you were little was bought by Nuan, it was also your Han Qian's money, right? Plus what you gave to Suliang and Yang Lan, you didn't even blink when they were spending money. Why did you give up face for 600,000 yuan? Wu Qingxi was also a little surprised. If she had known earlier, would it have been better to talk about money directly? Why did it take so long to write ink? At the same time, Wu Qingxi was a little angry. I asked you to make any conditions and you were not moved. For 600,000, your eyes were red with excitement? The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Wu Qingxi snorted coldly. My script gets approved and you get the money. Han Qian nodded seriously. I don't want 600,000, you give me 400,000, but you have to give me 200,000 today, and we'll mention the rest after it's approved, otherwise we won't have to talk. 300,000, I can transfer it to you now. Whether it passes or not has nothing to do with you. Hey, this is my card number. I edited the text message and sent it to you. You can just transfer it over. Wu Qingxi tilted her head and looked at Han Qian with a frown. Does this guy have no bottom line? Are you willing to take less than 300,000 yuan just to get the money? Wu Qingxi couldn't help but stretched out her hand and touched Han Qian's forehead, wondering, is this not hot anymore? Why do you feel that Han Qian's brain is broken? It's not that Han Qian is bad. If the script is rejected and Wu Qingxi cheats, Han Qian will have no place to complain. She is Cai King Hu's best friend. In the end, Cai King Hu has to give him the money. Han Qian doesn't want Xiao Cai's secretary. I spent money on Wu Qingxi. Wu Qingxi looked at the phone and took a deep breath. Han Qian, first I want to ask you if Feng Lun will cause trouble for you after you tell me. Han Qian said nothing. Wu Qingxi frowned and continued. How many officials are involved? Han Qian still didn't speak. Cai King Hu couldn't stand it any longer. He took out his mobile phone and went to the window to make a call. Within 10 minutes, Han Qian received a credit message from his mobile phone. Han Qian also specially sent a text message to check. After taking a moment to make sure it was correct, he raised his head and smiled. What? What did you say just now? I didn't hear it. Wu Qingxi was so angry that her face turned blue. Who has shown her face after so many years? Whether it is the investors or the director of the film crew, they have never looked down upon Wu Qingxi, nor have they made excessive demands, because everyone in the entertainment industry knows that there is a mysterious financial backer behind Wu Qingxi, who is very generous. But no one expected that the financial sponsor was a little girl. Now that he had received the money, Han Qian told Wu Qingxi the detailed story of the incident, from the first time he met Feng Lun, to the time he returned to the hotel after sending Li Jinhai home, where he met the big man who insulted the girl, and toads during the duel. He told Wu Qingxi about the grievances between Feng Lun and Feng Zhaida, and also told about the cause of death of the lobby manager. As for the cause of Feng Zhaida's death, Han Qian did not tell him because he did not know who forced Feng Zhaida to death. Wu Qingxi quickly recorded every key point that Han Qian said. Han Qian also hid some information. Han Qian did not say anything about going to the sea alone with Feng Lun or going to see Feng Lun with Cai Qinghu. Since he is a screenwriter, he knows how to make corrections. There is no need for Han Qian to go into too much detail and cause trouble for himself. After talking to Wu Qingxi, it was almost time to get off work. Wu Qingxi stood up, stretched and yawned. Tomorrow I will start shooting the advertising and endorsement of your real estate, and then I will shoot the promotional posters and record the video for Honor Home Plaza. After that, we will have a celebration banquet, okay? Yan Qingqing naturally had no objections. Wu Qingxi's endorsement of the mall gave her more confidence that the mall could help her make a lot of money. But Han Qian spoke. Tomorrow you go to Changxiang department store first, buy some things, bring a bodyguard, don't dress up too closely, and promote Changxiang department store, it's free. Also, won't you treat us to dinner tonight? Wu Qingxi looked at Han Qian and curled her lips and said angrily. Why are you so shameless? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 454. Han Qian was taken away from home by Cai Qinghu early the next morning. When Nuan stood at the door holding a glass of hot milk and waved goodbye to Han Qian. Han Qian, who was wearing pajamas, was reluctantly taken away from home by Cai Qinghu. Since the last time he experienced crystal love in a hotel, Cai Qinghu has become very strong, and he has the feeling of a mistress entering the house and becoming the main wife. Of course, Han Qian will definitely not think so. He has no such things in his head. Han Qian whispered as he got into the red Ferrari. Someday you can lend me your car and drive it? Okay. I'll give it to you now, and then I can order a new car. The new R8 is so handsome. Then give Martha to the little carrot, so that this money tree will bear fruit for me as soon as possible. Seeing Cai Qinghu take out her cell phone to ask about the car, Han Qian quickly grabbed her wrist and sighed. Sister-in-law, how much does that R8 cost? It's more than 260 yuan, so it's not too expensive. I've liked Jianwan's car for a long time, but it's too expensive and I can't bear to part with it. Han Qian slowly let go of Cai Qinghu's wrist. He probably didn't even know how much money this eldest sister had. Before her father left, he sold the company to cash out and left it to his granddaughter. Wu Qingxi could make a living in the entertainment industry. The money in this girl's hands, it should be more than the several shareholders of Honor combined. But Han Qian couldn't take what Cai Qinghu gave her for granted. If he had this kind of character, Wen Nuan or Yan Qingqing would have already fallen for him. I don't care whether you buy an R8 or not. Now I'm quite comfortable driving your Martha and the warm Porsche. I won't drive this Ferrari because I'm joking with you. Cai Qinghu put down his phone, looked at Han Qian resentfully, and muttered softly. You are so disappointing. Face is so important. I just want to give you a car. When will you be softer? Han Qian lowered his head to light the cigarette and said softly. You don't know when I will be softer. This sentence made Cai Qinghu blush like an apple. He lightly hammered the gangster's shoulder and whispered. You hate it? Han Qian turned to look at Cai Qinghu with confusion, tilted his head and said. I mean I feel soft when girls cry. What do you think? Cai Qinghu didn't panic, gently tucked his hanging hair behind his ears and said calmly. Ms. Sir, it's time to consummate the marriage. Han Qian shut up decisively. If he opened his mouth, the topic would not end. Secretary Cai did not ask any further questions. He turned around and took a set of clothes from behind and threw them to Han Qian and said softly. Wu Qingxi was filming commercials and videos today. She called me early in the morning and asked me to come over. She said she didn't feel safe. I also asked you to come over and ask your opinion. Please change your clothes first. Here. Is there something about you that I haven't seen before? Why are you so pretentious? Come on. Why is it a suit again? After hearing this, Cai Qinghu threw his suit behind and took another set of casual clothes and handed it to Han Qian. Just wear it. I haven't had time to buy you clothes recently. Your suit is almost covered by Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing. I see that there are many suits in Yan Qingqing's lounge. It looks like the size is for you. Sportswear season Jing is shopping for you again, it's too difficult to buy clothes for you, I'll drive. You change clothes. Han Qian took off his pajamas and then asked. Where's the thermal underwear? I forgot to buy them. I've been following you all day today, mostly in the car. It's okay if you don't wear them. I bought you underwear. Do you want to change them? I won't change it. I changed it last night. That's it? Why do I feel like you're still a little disappointed? Can we stop acting like gangsters? Wrong, wrong, wrong. It's not like, I am, husband-in-law. It's time to consummate the marriage. After being deceived by Cai Qinghu, Yan Qingqing called and asked them to go to the construction site. I don't know who made the decision early in the morning to take outdoor photos. I don't know if Yan Qingqing asked people to work overtime or if they were completed a long time ago. They took the photos in a corner of a temporarily completed community. In Yan Qingqing's words, just post it in PS later. Wu Qingxi wore a blue and white hanfu with an exquisite golden phoenix on her head. She was dressed classically, changing her youthful and fashionable atmosphere from the past. She held artificial snow in her hands and posed in front of the camera. Han Qian's casual wearing a suit over his clothes, he came over shivering with his arms in his arms and said in a trembling voice. Why are we shooting, outdoors at this time? It's, a bit cold. While speaking, her upper and lower teeth were still clashing. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian dumbfounded and said helplessly. General Han, how are you spending your summer? It will be a bit foggy, and there will be frost on the trees. Post-processing will be easier. The snow prepared last night will not melt easily. Don't tell me that you don't know the style of this community yet. What style? I'm so cold. I want to go back to the car, okay. Yan Qingqing took off her cotton-padded jacket and put it on Han Qian's body. She was wearing a black woolen sweater and shook her head gently at Han Qian. Wu Qingxi only wore this hanfu. This time she collaborated with us, and half of it was given as a gift. She was freezing outside, and we went to the car. It wasn't very good, so we endured it for a while and passed. Han Qian put the coat on Yan Qingqing's body again and said tremblingly. I can hold on for a while. Don't tell me that the architectural style of the community is designed in the ancient Chinese style. You and Wen Nuan are going to build a palace complex? Don't you mean high-rise? Can high-rises do it? It's better than the European style in the bad streets. You haven't seen the planning of the community at all, have you? I'm too lazy to tell you. Yang Jia, go and bring Miss Wu a cup of hot water to warm yourself up. Han Qian looked at Wu Qingxi, whose face was purple from the cold, and sighed softly. No job is easy. Easy work tires the brain, but not the brain. The body is tired. An artist looks glamorous on the surface, but a movie can only take a long time. How much is the pay, but who sees the hard work involved? Wu Qingxi wore a layer of gauze in this weather of more than 10 degrees below zero, but what about those falling into the water scenes in winter? Always keep an eye on the paycheck. Just watch the thief eat meat, don't watch the thief get beaten. Wu Qingxi just held the water cup to warm her hands, and then continued to shoot. Seeing her arms and calves exposed to the air, Han Qian found that he was not as good as a girl. She was so cold that she took off her suit and threw it to Cai Qinghu, who was also stomping his feet from the cold, lit a cigarette, put his hands in his trouser pockets and leaned back slightly, squinting at the busy people. Is it cold? Cold. I'd be happy to freeze to death. It's not unreasonable that Han Qian is often injured. He is always competing with himself. A little after 7 o'clock, the pink Audi A7 arrived. Yu Shisai came trotting all the way in long boots. She rubbed her hands and looked at Wu Qingxi, who was taking the photo. Then she glanced at Han Qian and spoke in confusion. You two don't live in the same season as us, do you? Can Han Qian's collar be buttoned? I feel cold looking at you. Han Qian, who was numb from the cold, gritted his teeth. It's not cold. You're full of blood. Oh. Then go shirtless, I'm cold. Hearing the sound, Han Qian mechanically turned his head and glanced at Yu Shisai, frowning. Why are you here? Are you lazy again? Yu Shisai closed her eyes and sighed. What can I do if the eldest lady is lazy? Not only me, Lin Zongheng is also here. He is also very concerned about the Liancheng project. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Zongheng came over. This guy looked handsome in a white shirt and a black suit. He wore a coat outside the suit with the hem above his knees. He had brown hair in a 3/4 length and wore leather gloves on his smoking hands. This guy is more handsome than those handsome boys in Korea. The main thing is that Lin Zongheng is inferior to Han Qian. This guy always has a naughty smile on his face. Even if he is not smiling, this guy's face still looks like he is smiling. The Luo Shen beside him was wearing a cotton cheongsam. These two people kind of want to go to the beach, and maybe they also want to cooperate with today's shooting. Han Qian looked at Lin Zongheng, and Lin Zongheng was also looking at Han Qian. The next second, the guy took off his coat and threw it to the assistant behind him. He strode towards Han Qian. When he got closer, Han Qian frowned and said helplessly. You come here to prove that you are not afraid of the cold. Lin Zongheng looked at Wu Qingxi and replied softly. The little girl is so serious about her work. Why do I, Lin Zongheng, have to stand here on 3 floors inside and 3 outside? God, please be prepared. Just finish the filming and immediately put the coat on Miss Wu. This is respect. Luo Shen nodded seriously. She really liked Lin Zongheng now. Lin Zongheng took out a cigarette and handed it to Han Qian, saying calmly. It's not poisonous. The two companies are cooperating. I can distinguish between personal grudges and collective interests. Han Qian took the cigarette and sneered. Hey, have you grown up? The image of Lin Zongheng, you are not a man, is still in my mind, vivid in my mind. Lin Zongheng looked into the distance and sighed. Yes. I wish I could kill the person I used to be, Han Qian. When I saw you standing here, I understood a truth. Men can lose, defeat, and get hurt, but this waist cannot be bent. It's enough to bend once in a lifetime, there won't be another time. You've really grown up. I'm wondering if I should put your father aside and start paying attention to you. Lin Zongheng did not answer. At this time, Wu Qingxi's second set of filming was over. Luo Shen sent a coat and put it on her body. Xiao Yangjia prepared hot water. Wu Qingxi's skin was now so cold that it was abnormal. To be honest, Han Qian felt a little distressed. He frowned and shouted to the cameraman in the distance. "Have fun." Lin Zongheng frowned and spoke. "Stop humming dawdling." After saying this, the two of them looked at each other, snorted and turned their heads to the other side at the same time. At this time, a familiar voice came from behind them, which also made them itch with hatred. Young Master Han and Young Master Lin did everything in person today, which surprised Lu a little. Wearing so little? I can't compare. Lin Zongheng didn't turn his head and laughed coldly. What happens to Han Qian and I is our business, we are both men. As soon as these words came out, Lu Shenge, who suddenly returned, turned ugly, took off his suit and walked over wearing a dark purple shirt. Yan Qingqing covered her head and sighed weakly, making Yu Shisai slightly embarrassed. Wu Qingxi, who was drinking hot water, whispered to Cai Qinghu. "Aren't they cold?" Cai Qinghu looked at the three of them and curled his lips. "Men are childish." Luo Shen answered and spoke. "I agree with this statement." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 455. The shooting ended at 11 o'clock. During this period, Wu Qingxi rested twice. 3 or 4 little sons surrounded her to help her recover. The negatives of the photo were reviewed by 3 childish ghosts. Calculation is calculation, and hatred is hatred. You can choose on the matter of photos, they had the same opinion. A total of 7 were chosen, and all 3 of them nodded in approval. Lin Zongheng looked at the photo and said calmly. If the background is not needed, it seems that this photo does not need to be retouched. God, what is the next item after the photo is finished? Luo Shen seemed to have become Lin Zongheng's assistant. He took a look at the tablet and said softly. It's a video, 2 videos, one played on the big screen in Glory Plaza and one on the display screen outside Changxiang Group. These 2 videos are also the most important in this cooperation. Lin Zongheng frowned after hearing this and whispered. Han Qian, you and Wu Qingxi are familiar with each other. Go and ask her if she can still hold on. Who the hell said that Hanfu must be summer, and winter cotton padded jackets are also very good? Han Qian curled his lips and replied. Who says it's not the case? Wu Qingxi also knows you. Go over and ask yourself. I don't really want to talk to her. Wu Qingxi was also present when Lin Zongheng was used as a chair by Feng Lun and sat on the ground. He really didn't want to talk to Wu Qingxi. 2 men who were well known in the city were scared at this moment. Lu Shenge curled his lips and said sarcastically. 2 losers. After saying that, they both turned their heads at the same time and said angrily. You go. Then go. Lu Shenge was also aroused, frowned, and said angrily. I'll go, I'll go. Maybe men are naive, let alone men. If these 3 guys mature, all the dads present combined will not be as mature as one of them. As expected, Lu Shenge stepped forward to ask Wu Qingxi's opinion. This guy was very rude and ignored Wu Qingxi's assistant as if it were air. Not long after, he made a decision. Shooting videos in the afternoon, now taking a break for lunch. Wu Qingxi trotted back to her makeup cart with her coat on. The girl was really freezing. The assistant and Cai Qinghu chased after her. Yan Qingqing and Yu Shisai also followed. As for the 3 childish ghosts pretending to be tough guys, they also followed. Find an excuse to go back to the car and rest. Han Qian got on Yan Qingqing's raptor, casually grabbed his clothes and covered himself, started the car and turned on the heater. Lin Zongheng was no better than this guy. He was trembling in the car and scolding Han Qian for being a mad dog. As for Lushenga, it's not much better, except that he has one more woman by his side than the other two guys, biting his tongue and scolding her. Do you think they are both sick? Are they stupid in such a cold weather? The assistant didn't dare to say a word, thinking in his heart, Mr. Lu, you are not smart either, why are you trying to get angry with them? The lunch meal was average. Box lunch. 1 meat and 2 vegetables paired with a bowl of hot egg drop soup. Not sure who made the order, Lin Zongheng took the lunch box handed over by Luo Shen and listened to his fiancée's nagging. Zongheng, why are you wasting your time here and eating this kind of thing? Lin Zongheng smiled and pinched Luo Shen's little nose, which was red from the cold, and laughed softly. Have you ever imagined how big Wu Qingxi's traffic is? Not to mention taking pictures, even today's incident will be photographed and posted online. Otherwise, why do you think that guy Han Mad Dog is standing here with so little clothes? Isn't it just to steal the spotlight? Do you think I'm stupid enough to accompany him to freeze? You still don't understand. Luo Shen shook his head in confusion, then suddenly changed his face and said angrily. You want to hook up with Wu Qingxi? Lin Zongheng frowned and tilted his head. Get married early, and then leave your company to me. You can take care of your children at home. Why should I hook up with Wu Qingxi? And it is difficult to hook up. The financial backer behind her is too rich, and we are wearing less clothes. The purpose of freezing here is to make things easier to talk about in the future. Think about it, as long as we hire trolls to hype it up. Changxiang Group President Lin Zongheng showed his respect for the artist and chose to accompany him in the same weather of more than 10 degrees below zero. With my appearance and identity, I will soon become an internet celebrity, and Changxiang Group will also become popular quickly, do you understand? Luo Shen nodded as if he understood, then shook his head and said doubtfully. What are you going to do after you become famous? I don't do anything but get traffic. As long as the hype is good, it will save a lot of advertising fees. You can find someone to take pictures later. Remember not to show the face of those two idiots. You eat, I have something to do, son. After saying that, Lin Zongheng got out of the car with his lunch box, walked to the shooting location, and sat and ate with the photographer and staff, talking and laughing. After all, he had returned from studying abroad. This guy didn't just hang out while he was abroad, and his mind was still very flexible when it came to serious matters. Sitting in the car, Lushenga saw something strange about Lin Zongheng. When he found out that someone was filming him at that moment, I understood his thoughts in an instant, opened the car door with a box of lunch, and said angrily. Is Yan Qingqing a waste? Why aren't you going to fix it? Lin is freezing to death and beating up the bastard, you idiot. Damn it. I'm so annoyed. He had to get off the car even though he was irritated, and he absolutely couldn't let Lin Zongheng take the lead just like that. When Lin Zongheng saw Lushenga approaching, his expression changed. After all, he was noticed by this dead eunuch. Han Qian, who was sitting in the car and eating a big meal, looked at the two guys outside with slightly confused eyes. Why are they so crazy? Han Qian wanted to find someone to analyze, but then he found that there was no one around him. Could it be that he was still trying to distinguish himself? Who is the tough guy? Han Qian couldn't guess that he had 3 more years of blank time than these two guys. He didn't understand the internet, its power and progress. In Han Qian's impression, the internet was still in the era of button and games. I don't understand the circulation of information. Han Qian didn't get out of the car. He really didn't want to get out and be frozen. Let's compete. Can I, Han Qian, give in? Lin Zongheng breathed a sigh of relief when Mad Dog Han didn't get out of the car. Lushenga was slightly confused. What was Mad Dog Han planning? No matter what, Lin Dabasi definitely cannot eat alone, and Lu Diao Temple was the first to disagree. Diao Temple. It sounds better than eunuch. Then Lushenga got angry, lowered his head to eat and cursed angrily. Bastard Lin, what the hell did you order for the lunch box? Are you out of money? Eunuch Lu, are you sick? Didn't someone from your company order it? While the two were arguing, Yan Qingqing came over and walked in. The two frowned. Mr. Lin, Director Lu, which one of you decided on this lunch? The two were stunned for a moment, then raised their heads and shouted angrily in unison. Ask Mad Dog Han. Yan Qingqing frowned in confusion. Han Qian decided. He's almost freezing to death and still has this thought. After the meal, the shooting continued. The three guys stood together again, with the same hands in their pockets and the same mouth, with their upper bodies leaning back slightly. This time, all three of them were wearing thin shirts and ties. The shirt styles were different, and the tie colors were different. Different. Wu Qingxi was full of doubts. Are these three guys standing at the pinnacle of the city's young generation? Sister is here to make money, what are you doing? Are the three of them stupid? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 456. The three guys originally thought that shooting videos was easy, just holding a camera and shooting. How long would it take? 1 hour is enough for 2 videos, but the fact made the three idiots confused. It was dusk and the sun was setting. Although it was spring, it still got dark very early. The glory bus came slowly. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief and said softly, "It is finally over." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard someone shouting, Okay, let's take a rest and eat something before taking a night view. That's it for today. We'll continue tomorrow. Again. Han Qian couldn't bear it anymore and said softly, You guys just hold on, I'm going home first, I'm freezing to death. Lin Zongheng glanced at Lushenga, who seemed to have no intention of leaving. The cameraman and the staff got on the bus to eat. They couldn't fool people with their lunch boxes. The bus left first and took the staff to eat. The remaining people drove back in their own cars. Lin Zongheng left first, and then it was Lushenga. Finally, when Han Qian was about to get in the car, he realized that he had forgotten these girls. Cai Qinghu thought that Yan Qingqing would pick up Han Qian, and the latter thought that Cai Qinghu would pick up, but there was also a Yushasai guy. How could Han Qian have a car? Cai Qinghu had to take care of Wu Qingxi, her best friend, and her man. At this moment, she chose best friend is suffering today. Yan Qingqing has work to do, and Yushasai also has to arrange photos. The result turned out to be like this. Han Qian stood there with confusion in his eyes. Calling. Just as she took out her mobile phone, a red car drove up and parked in the open space. Miss Wen got out of the car and looked around with confusion. Where are people? Didn't you say that you also want to take photos of night scenes? Han Qian coughed lightly and walked forward, patted the car and said softly. Come to pick me up. After all, she was still his ex-wife. Knowing that he had been busy all day, Nuan shook his head at Han Qian and asked softly. Where are the people? Why are you alone here? Everyone is going to eat? Then what are you doing here? Waiting for me? You knew I would come? Huh? You thought you were 18? You are almost an old man, why are you still wearing so little? It was all an accident. Let's talk about it in the car. They are going to eat? Nuan is not here to pick up Han Qian. Han Qian didn't wait for Nuan either. Just chance, just fate. When Nuan got in the car and called Yushasai to ask where they were. When they arrived at this small restaurant, Han Qian didn't want to get out of the car. His body had just warmed up and he felt a little sleepy. When Nuan ignored him and got out of the car, Han Qian walked around the front of the car and opened the door. forcibly dragged Han Qian out of the car, took off the women's pink cotton padded jacket and put it on Han Qian's body. Without giving Han Qian a chance to refuse, he grabbed his arm and stuffed it into the sleeve, and then pulled down the zipper. He lifted his chin and put the furry hooded cap on his head. Looking Han Qian up and down, Wen Nuan nodded with satisfaction. Then he took out a leather jacket from the back seat and put it on. He took Han Qian's arm and walked into the small restaurant. Wherever he went, Nuan Wen was the center of attention. She and Yan Qingqing, the appearance is about the same, but the height is a head taller than Yan Qingqing. Cai Qinghu can't compare with Wen Wen's height, but her appearance is slightly inferior. It can only be said that Wen Wen's appearance is more in line with the public's aesthetics. It is sweet and attractive, while Cai Qinghu is cool and charming. But the target of more people is not Nuan, but Han Qian beside her, who suddenly changed from a tough guy to a pink girl. The huge gap makes people feel a little difficult to adapt. Han Qian is also a little embarrassed and wants to take off her clothes. The cotton padded jacket took off his hat, but Wen Nuan disagreed. He pulled Han Qian to Cai Qinghu's table, pressed Han Qian's head on the chair, then gently took off the hat, pulled down the zipper, and said calmly, "Cai Qinghu, I handed Han Qian to you this morning, and you let him stand outside wearing a shirt like this? Don't even think about picking Han Qian up in front of me next time." Cai Qinghu was speechless. Wu Qingxi wanted to help her best friend regain her position. As soon as she uttered a word, her warm eyes instantly pierced her and she said coldly, "This is a matter between us. You have nothing to do with Han Qian, and you have no right to speak." The girl suddenly became aggressive. Cai Qinghu whispered sorry. Nuan nodded lightly and said calmly, "You guys have all left, and Han Qian is still there? I didn't call him to tell him that I was going there, and he wouldn't be stupid enough to wait for me at night with more than 10 degrees below zero. Yan Qingqing, Cai Qinghu, and there are poems, you are really so good, how can you forget about a living person even if you lose them?" Yan Qingqing raised her eyebrows and looked at Wen Nuan, opened her mouth but said nothing. When she arrived at the restaurant, she found that Han Qian was missing. She called and turned off the phone. Cai Qinghu and Yu Shisai did not speak. It was indeed their negligence. Seeing that the scene was a bit solemn and everyone was looking at them, Han Qian gently tugged on Nuan's clothes and whispered, "I didn't call them, and I only had so few clothes to wear." After finishing her words, Wu Qingxi continued, "Yes, Han Qian is such a big man, can he be lost?" Wen Nuan frowned and looked at Wu Qingxi and said coldly, "I said that you have no right to interfere with my affairs with Cai Qinghu and Han Qian. You said that Han Qian is not a child. Then tell me which adult sent us out of the party? An adult would do something so reckless. Something about showing off your strength. Han Qian likes to compete with himself, he is very stubborn but also very soft-hearted and obedient. I don't believe you force him to wear clothes and he doesn't know how to wear them. We've known him for a long time, right?" The words made the women on the table hesitate, and they were so warm that a cup of hot tea was placed in front of Han Qian, and he continued calmly, "You only think about getting, but don't think about giving, right? Don't talk about the body, Han Qian doesn't take that thing seriously. Cai Qinghu, Yan Qingqing, Yu Shisai, I advise you to say goodbye is too ugly. Han Qian is stupid and has low emotional intelligence, he is also a human being, knowing warmth, cold, hunger and thirst." Yan Qingqing couldn't help being passive all the time. She raised her head and said coldly with a frown, "You are talking about us here, so let me ask you what you were doing during the day." Wen Nuan sneered and said sarcastically, "Is it possible that I, Nuan, am still by your side to guide you when you two go to bed?" One sentence made the temperature of the restaurant drop to zero. Han Qian was naive and silly to Han Qian. In the company, She was called the cold and charming iceberg. Don't forget the first time that a grown man like Li Yang warmed the office. I didn't dare to straighten my waist, and the sweat on my face never stopped. The fact that she can say this here today also shows that when Nuan's anger has reached the extreme, she can act indifferent in front of Han Qian, but it does not mean that she will not be angry. Yan Qingqing lowered her head and whispered, "I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of Han Qian." Nuan said lightly, "It's right to make money, but it's wrong to only focus on money. I won't care about it this time. If I know that Han Qian and you were not taken care of when we went out, I will not let any of you go, including myself. I love he, I feel sorry for him." The 7 words fell in Lin Zongheng's ears, and warm strength fell in his eyes. The 7 words were like sharp knives piercing his heart. Lin Zongheng took a deep breath, stood up and spoke softly. "I went out to smoke, but I couldn't eat any more." Han Qian also stood up and said softly, "I'll go out and have a cigarette too." He didn't know how to persuade Wen Nuan. He couldn't just say, "Oh, it's okay. Old men are not afraid of the cold." If you say that, he is a fool. Wen Nuan feels sorry for him, but he doesn't take himself seriously. Han Qian walked out of the restaurant, lit a cigarette, raised his head and blew out his disgust. "Hey. I feel like several mothers are fighting for custody. I'm so tired. I need to wake up and correct the typos." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 457. For some reasons, Wu Qingxi went on strike in the evening. Her strike also meant that today's filming was coming to an end. Han Qian was picked up by Nuan. This time, no one stopped or followed. Yu Shisai kept saying sorry to Nuan. In the car, Han Qian was driving. When Nuan took off his shoes and huddled in the passenger seat, holding a box of Odin in his hand. The weather goes well with Odin. She seemed to have forgotten her unhappiness just now, or she didn't want to bring her unhappiness to Han Qian, so she murmured while eating. "I'm beginning to like Jijing a little now, and I also find that Jijing is the biggest threat to me. You are an indispensable part of me. If you leave me, I can't give you warmth anymore, but I'm just not complete anymore." "But Jijing." Nuan sighed. Han Qian drove the car slowly and said softly, "What's wrong with Aunt Ji?" In Jijing's eyes, no, that's not right. It should be said that Jijing lives in your world. When she sees you, she only sees her nephew, no money, no desire. There is no joy, anger, sorrow, or joy. She laughs when you are happy, she cries when you are sad, and she will even forget that she is good to you. Your frown is an earthquake in her world, hey. I have no confidence in defeating such a girl. She is kind and cute, gentle and intellectual, extremely intelligent, loved by everyone, beautiful and fair-skinned, and her ex-wife, who is well-educated, feels sorry for her." Han Qian frowned and smiled bitterly. "Are you talking about her or are you praising yourself? Today was an accident." Cai Qinghu didn't know that he changed his plan temporarily. Nuan turned to Han Qian and curled his lips, then sighed. "My silly brother, how long does it take to buy a cotton-padded jacket? If Cai Qinghu makes a call, someone will send it to you non-stop, or is he not thinking about you? Isn't Wu Qingxi freezing too? That's her job. I can only say that she is dedicated, not sympathetic. Don't forget, if Wu Qingxi didn't come out early that night, she might have been the one bleeding on the sea. She is a woman, so Wu Qingxi should do whatever she does to you. She will never pay you back in her lifetime. Besides, why don't you give her money? Why are you hanging around in the cold? Are you sick?" Han Qian didn't speak. He murmured in his heart that this wasn't soft-hearted. Besides, there was nothing wrong with a little girl freezing him. Then he sneezed several times in front of a red light, shivered, and had a vague runny nose. Come out. Han Qian turned to look at Wen Nuan with a guilty conscience, and sniffed inappropriately. Seeing this, Wen Nuan slapped his forehead and sighed. It's over, you caught a cold again, my brother, you're going to kill me. Like a child who made a mistake, Han Qian sniffed again and said with guilt. What should I do? I can't have a fever, right? I didn't know that there are two choices, go home and let nature take its course. The second choice is to go to your parents' place and ask them to cook you some hot pimple soup, Han Qian. I'm kind of thinking of nursery rhymes. Oh. I don't want to. Looking at Wen Nuan's squinting eyes, Han Qian knew that the girl was telling a story. After finishing the Odin in his hand, Han Qian was kicked out of the co-pilot. Driving warmly and driving fast. When he arrived at his mother-in-law's house, he heard that Han Qian had a cold and asked if he had taken any medicine. Han Qian shook his head and whispered. I haven't eaten yet. I came here after I finished my work. Mom, I don't want to infect you. Li Jinhe gently patted the back of Han Qian's head, and then said angrily to Wen Shi. What are you still looking at? Aren't you familiar with that vixen Zhang Xian? She is a medical student, how can you not understand at all? Tell me. What kind of medicine will be useful in this situation now? An unnecessary disaster? Wen Shi, who was watching the news, tilted his head and looked at Li Jinhe with confusion, then closed his eyes and took a deep breath. What kind of medicine should you take? If you take too much of that stuff, you will become resistant. Xiao Qian has a very good physique. Dad will make you something hot in a while. After eating, go to bed, turn on the electric blanket, prepare some cold drinks, and cover yourself with a quilt. Covering it for one night is enough. Well, Dad, I didn't mean to cause trouble for you. When she waved to Han Qian and said nonchalantly. Come here if you feel uncomfortable, that's what you should do. After saying that, he stood up to prepare a supper for Han Qian. Li Jinhe rolled his eyes and told Han Qian and Nuan to play by themselves in the living room. He turned and followed Wen Shu to the kitchen and closed the sliding door, but her voice still came out. You also said that you can treat illnesses even if you have no contact with Zhang Xian? You should be in constant contact with me, Wen Shu, I know you are dishonest. This is common sense. What does it have to do with Xiao Xian? Xiao Xian? You're calling her so affectionate. Ziahe. Are you looking for a fight? The love between the father-in-law and the mother-in-law, well, it's really not enviable, it's quite scary. Han Qian looked at the girl sitting on the sofa and cracking melon seeds, and sighed in his heart. Fortunately, the warmth is not like that of the mother-in-law. She is more like Wen Shi's easygoing temperament. Compared with my mother-in-law, Wen Nuan is really easygoing. After a midnight snack, Wen Nuan was still worried and gave Han Qian 2 pills. Han Qian didn't know what the medicine was. He only knew that after drinking it, his eyelids started to fight. He got into the bedroom and took off his clothes and went to bed. Nuan Wen hurriedly he ran over and asked Han Qian to take a hot bath. After a while, Han Qian fell asleep. After sleeping until dawn, Han Qian was awakened by the ringing of his cell phone. Looking at the cell phone connected to the charger on the bedside table, Han Qian quickly pressed the answer button, but Nuan still woke up. He squinted at Han Qian and then lay down. After falling asleep again, Han Qian answered the phone and Cai Qinghu whispered. Has your husband woke up? Little Carrots has a cold. Today's shooting has been postponed to tomorrow. She wants to take this time to go shopping at Changxiang department store. Do you think it's warm and convenient today? Han Qian glanced at the sleeping warmth next to him and said softly after being silent for a few seconds. About what time will she arrive? After 10 o'clock, there will be more people at that time. In fact, It was best to go yesterday, because yesterday was the weekend, but... Well, I'll get Nuan up, tidy up, and go to Changxiang to notify you first, so as not to cause panic by then, and you need to arrange security. I'm worried that some fanatical fans will do some irrational things. That's best. I won't go there today. Last night Nuan called me and taught me a lesson again, saying you had a cold. I'm sorry, husband. It's okay, I'm going to wash up first. Good. When Han Qian hung up the phone, Wen Nuan also sat up and looked at Han Qian with big eyes. Han Qian was a little flustered and said in a trembling voice. The food is outside. Ouch. Wen Nuan threw Han Qian down and bit him hard on the face. When Han Qian got out of bed, he let go of his lips and went to wash up. Han Qian, who was lying on the bed, didn't know whether he should cry or laugh at this time. Get out. Nuan went to the company to arrange the matter first. She didn't want to make it too grand, so she first prepared 2 bodyguards for Wu Qingxi, and then prepared some plain clothes, making it look like the emperor was leaving the palace, which would definitely cause dissatisfaction among others. He threw Han Qian to glory and called Li Yang warmly. Team leader Li, prepare yourself. A big star will go shopping in the mall today. Inform the merchants in the mall to be calmer. They can give discounts but not free. The company will not reimburse the money. I will contact the security company for the mall. There are children shopping inside to take care of the customers. Fans chasing stars must not hurt anyone, especially strollers and children under 7 or 8 years old. Children who are separated should be taken to the security room as soon as possible and contacted through broadcast notifications. Parents, please ask all shopping mall entertainment staff not to look naked, but also to help take care of children. Yes, I'll do it right now. Well, you should go to the mall today. I need a temporary assistant. After assistant you goes to the company, I will ask her to handle the hospital affairs. You are ready. The operation and management of the mall will be handed over to you for the time being. Don't worry, Mr. Wen. Don't make a guarantee, I only care about the result. After hanging up the phone, Wen Nuan slammed his head on the steering wheel and wailed. When does this day end? When can I buy a cow? The honor group is a relatively relaxed time in the morning, with employees chatting over coffee and breakfast in the lobby. In front of the clock-in machine, Han Qian discovered several new rules. 1. The weight of women in the company must not exceed 120 kilograms. If employees are already overweight, the company will reduce their work and arrange for fitness coaches. They are not allowed to go to work without makeup. Male members of the company must wear a suit and tie when working. Except for the business department, they are not allowed to wear sports shoes. They can have long hair, but it must be clean and combed into a ponytail. Dreadlocks are not allowed. The suit must be neat and tidy. The company will provide dry cleaning and cleaning services free of charge. Ironing equipment. 2. It is strictly prohibited for members other than senior executives to call executive elevators, except for secretaries. Executive elevators are used to transport emergency documents and must not occupy resources, including Han Qian, Qianwan, Suliang. 3. Fighting is strictly prohibited in the company and will be severely punished if found. Han Qian, Qianwan, and Suliang are not within the special scope. Han Qian stood in front of the clock-in machine. Fortunately, he was wearing a suit today. He took a deep breath, clocked in, and walked to the executive elevator. Not long after, Han Qian was sent back to the staff elevator by the security captain. Mr. Yan and Director Qian specially warned. Standing in front of the staff, waiting for the elevator, Qianwan was also sent over by the security captain not long after. The two looked at each other with helplessness in their eyes. What's going on? After waiting for the elevator for a long time, they returned to the first floor. Han Qian and Qianwan walked into the elevator side by side. They turned around and looked at the staff who did not come in. Han Qian and Qianwan sighed again. Two of the three rules were aimed at the three of them. Just as the elevator door was about to close, Suliang and Li Li trotted over and squeezed into the elevator. Suliang said doubtfully, "Have you read the new rules at the door?" Han Qian and Qianwan sighed again, and Suliang also sighed, apparently understanding. When the three of them walked into the general department, their colleagues burst into laughter. Yao Shui looked at Han Qian with her chin in one hand and said with a smile, "Tisk, tisk, tisk, are Han Daxian and brothers so committing crimes against the odds. Where are your ties?" Han Qian closed his eyes and sighed. "Hey. I'm going to get the tie." Suliang also sighed. "I'm going to ask my wife if she has prepared anything for me." Brothers in distress. Han Qian ran all the way to the operations department, said hello to his parents in the operation department, and hurried into Jijing's office. If Yan Qingqing found out that he was the first to disobey the rules, his life would be difficult. When Han Qian walked into the office, he saw 5 or 6 ties on Jijing's desk, seeming to be struggling with which one to choose. Han Qian stepped forward and said softly, "Don't choose. Just give me one. I feel that Mr. Yan will definitely make trouble for me today." When Nuan scolded her yesterday. Wake up and correct the typo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 458. Jijing chose a black tie for Han Qian. She felt that Han Qian was not suitable for flashy colors. He was as gentle as a wife sending her husband out in the morning. Jijing pinched her chin and looked at Han Qian, suspiciously. "Black seems a bit old-fashioned, right? Try this red one instead. Who chose this shirt for you? Is it warm?" While speaking, Jijing raised one leg and knelt on Han Qian's leg, untying the tie around his neck. Han Qian was a little worried that Jijing would not be able to stand steadily, so he held her waist with both hands and asked softly, "What's going on with those new rules downstairs?" "What Mr. Yan did was Gao Xingxing's." Jijing blushed slightly and said softly, "It was decided by Mr. Yan and Vice President Gao together. Mr. Yan said that every employee of the company represents the image of the company. Whether outside or in the company, one must pay attention to the image. Regarding the weight of female employees, Mr. Yan recently the problem discovered by the company is that colleagues are not very friendly towards fat female colleagues." Han Qian nodded and replied with raised eyebrows, "That makes sense." After untying Han Qian's tie, Jijing stood up to get the red one and continued. "Vice President Gao said that the company has never banned office romance, and that working together with handsome men and beautiful women will improve work efficiency. Work is already very tiring, and the fatigue of the body and brain can be made up for by the beauty of the eyes. Anyway, it is to improve the company. The overall image has nothing to do with us. I just feel sorry for those chubby little guys. It's really hard to lose weight. The last two, why can't I use the high-rise elevator? This matter is a bit interesting. Mr. Lu specifically mentioned your little friend Sul Yang. I don't know the details. I just listened to Mr. Yan nagging. Stand up and try this. How about I go and give it to you? Choose a shirt. Isn't this nice? Well, the tie is nice. I'll go back to work first. Wait a minute, take the medicine. Didn't you have a high fever a few days ago? You probably haven't recovered yet. Take the medicine and then leave. Bitter. There's candy." Leaving the planning department, shouting a piece of white rabbit toffee, Han Qian was in a good mood. When he returned to the general department, Suliang also put on a tie. he borrowed it from the Public Relations Department. The work of the General Department is still surrounded by the home furnishing mall, it's neither busy nor idle. Han Qian was not busy, and others were not idle. The little girl Fang Shanshan suddenly came to Han Qian's side and whispered. Brother Qian, I heard that you and Wu Qingxi know each other. Can you get an autograph for me? Han Qian turned his head and looked at the rosy-cheeked little girl and smiled. Why do you want that thing? I'll sign one for you that doesn't look any better than hers. Your brother Qian's handwriting is so beautiful. It's different. I can get the autograph to show off to my best friends. Oh, that's it. There will be a celebration party in a few days. Ask Qianwan to go with him. Let's take a photo then. Hey. Work hard. What's the point of chasing stars? I'm going to find Wan. Fang Shanshan trotted to find Qianwan. When she got far away, she realized that this little girl was dressed a bit maturely today, with professional attire, black socks, and high heels. Han Qian shook his head helplessly, asking the female colleagues in the company to dress like this. Those young men, are you still in the mood to work? Han Qian didn't understand, but the answer was the opposite of what he thought. They would work harder to attract the little girl's attention, but the general department was relatively inferior. After Shanshan left, Yao Shui, who was sitting opposite Han Qian, looked sideways. Xiang Han Qian said softly. I've also heard about the party. It's said that everyone from Liancheng Group will attend. It seems to be held together with Chang Xiang. Han Qian, can I not go? Han Qian replied doubtfully. Why don't you go? Are you worried about your brother-in-law and the children? You can take your brother-in-law and their children with you then. There are probably a lot of people going that day. What if your brother-in-law can seize the opportunity, right? Yao Shui sighed and said helplessly. If he can be so determined, I won't have to be so tired. I can let him take care of the children at home and pick me up in the evening. I really envy you who are not married, how free you are. After the words fell, Duan Mingfeng on the side said. Sister Shui, please stop talking about us. We want to get married, but we are not qualified. Now the girl's bride price is at least 100,000, and she also has to buy a house. Although the girl's family will bring a car by then, it will be difficult enough for us. In our generation, if our parents can buy it for us, we can have fun secretly and work hard to buy a house. With this salary, I'm afraid I can't afford it even if I have a beard and mop the floor. It's hard to be single. Yao Shui sighed. It's more difficult to get married. Now I'm making more money. It's okay. In the past, we would quarrel because of the little firewood, rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and tea at home. I suggest you work hard to make money first. If you have money, there will be no conflicts. If you don't have money, it's wrong to breathe. Lu Zhuolong, who had been listening for a long time, interrupted. Hey? Xiaoxiu, you're wrong to say that. Two people live their lives together. If you have money, you will be happy. You see, Han Qian is making a lot of money now. Is he happy? His head has been shot twice. Han Qian pulled his hand away from his head and said resentfully. Don't talk nonsense, just for once. In fact, I agree with Sister Shui's words. They say money is not everything, but money can prevent quarrels. After finishing his words, Lu Zhuolong retorted. That's not right. How much money you have depends on how much money two people need. A kid like you who spreads his wealth around won't be satisfied with even 100 million. Look at me, I only get around 10,000 a month including bonuses and the like. You, my sister-in-law, earns more than 3,000 yuan a month, aren't we living a pretty good life? Sul Yang, who had been silent until now, opened his mouth to retort. We don't have 5,000 a month, why are you joining in the fun with more than 10,000? Go, Deputy Lu, Don't chat with us working class people. Aren't you irritating? While talking, Qianwan came over and whispered. What are you talking about? Just take me with you. Han Qian dismissed the meeting and everyone started working. Qianwan couldn't talk about this topic. She could buy a small house of 50 or 60 square meters with a month's pocket money. The staff of the general department could only earn $7 or $8 if they worked for a year without eating or drinking. Around 10,000 yuan, including bonuses. At noon, Yu Shisai called and told him that Wu Qingxi had arrived at the mall. The mall was now overcrowded. Wu Qingxi visited many stores, mainly bags and shoes. It was estimated that the products she bought would become hot items tomorrow. Han Qian asked about the order of the mall without paying much attention to Wu Qingxi's every move. Finally, he asked where the dinner was held. When he learned that it was at Lu Guangming's hot spring resort, Han Qian frowned and asked softly. The venue is reserved? Wu Qingxi is promoting glory and Changxiang. His real estate should be affected. Why is he still providing convenience to us? You have to call him and ask him about this. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian walked out of the general department and called Lu Guangming. It was better to ask about this matter. Lu Guangming said that Changxiang Group took the initiative to contact him, so Han Qian no longer doubted that it might be Lin Zongheng. This guy wants to please Wu Qingxi, so help him keep the secret. Anyway, there are still a few days, so take your time. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 459. This was the third dinner, and Han Qian always felt that something like a dinner conflicted with his destiny. The first time he met Feng Lun at the dinner party, the second time he met Go De Peo, these 3 times he really didn't want to go. What the hell were he doing? Even if you don't want to go, you still have to go. Members of the Liancheng team from Changxiang and Glory will attend, and people from the Shuncheng group will also be there. Wu Siguan also received invitations from Gao Fuling and Lu Guangming. What was originally a celebration banquet suddenly turned into an upscale event. An exchange in the circle. This was very annoying, and Han Qian still wanted to be lazy, eat something and go home to sleep. No one picked up today. When Han Qian went downstairs to leave, Yao Shui and Duan Mingfeng chased him and asked Han Qian if it was not convenient for him to take them to the resort. Sitting in the car, Yao Shui looked at Han Qian's car up and down, wondering. Han Qian, I didn't realize that you are quite rich and you drive a Porsche. Han Qian smiled bitterly. It's not my car. It's warm. I'll drive it for a few days. Duan Mingfeng, who was sitting behind, said immediately. Qian'er, where was that Martha you had the other day? I gave them back to others. They are all borrowed cars. I can't afford this thing. It costs more than 1 million at every turn. I can't even afford the gas money alone. We talked and laughed all the way to the resort. Looking at the cars in the parking lot, Han Qian knew that people were almost here. Lin Zongheng's Mercedes-Benz supercar, Lu Guangming's GL8, and Han Qian found that Wei Tianquan's car was also there. Is this guy very idle? The car was parked. Han Qian got out of the car and lit a cigarette. Just as he lowered his head, a sudden whistle startled Han Qian. He raised his head and glared, and saw Wu Sijuan opening the car window and waving to him with a silly smile. Brother Qian'er, sister Shui'er. Wu Siquan's personality is a bit green tea. She has a sweet mouth, she can easily get along with men, and she can also get along with women without being rude. Her personality is like a good sister in the eyes of men. The car stopped next to Paramela, and Han Qian whistled at Yates who was driving. Lu Shenga is here too. Yates smiled like a lady and said nothing. Han Qian curled his lips, reached into the car window and slapped Wan Fang on the shoulder, saying angrily. Didn't you see me, big brother? Wan Fang was furious, opened the car door and rushed towards Han Qian. They struggled with each other in an instant, refusing to give in. Wu Siquan shrugged, then took Yao Shue's hand and said sweetly. Sister Shue'er, I haven't seen you for a long time. I really miss my colleagues in the general department. In Yao Shue's eyes, the changes in Wu Siquan can be described as earth-shaking. She was very curious about what happened here, and she was even more curious about Yates. All the changes in things made her unable to turn around, and even more so about Duan Mingfeng. Needless to say, the four people walked in front, and Wanfang and Han Qian walked in the back. From time to time, you would kick me and I would slap you. Men and women couldn't understand what was said and done. They both fell down. When they walked into the main entrance of the resort, Yeji turned around and looked at the two people behind her, and said softly. Stop it. The two people who were pinching each other stopped. Yates walked towards Wanfang and tidied up her mess. Yates didn't say anything about playing with Han Qian. In fact, among the three women, Wanfang and Han Qian may have had the closest relationship. Then he stood in front of Han Qian and gently adjusted his collar. Han Qian was a little uncomfortable. The mature woman's aura exuding from Yates was fatal to boys like them. Slowly, Han Qian's face changed. Sweat seeped out on his forehead. At some point, the two women, Cai Qinghu and Yan Qingqing, were standing not far away, staring at him. The eyes of the two women were like four sharp swords that wanted to pierce Han Qian and Yates. Cai Qinghu had already walked over at this time. Han Qian swallowed and raised his hand and waved it stupidly. Morning. It's almost dark now, it's still early for you, uncle. Cai Qinghu glared at Han Qian fiercely, walked forward, and frowned. Let me do it, you don't understand Han Qian. Yates did not retreat but advanced, and replied softly. I'm very professional. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Sijuan put his hand around Yates's arm and pulled him away, muttering as he walked. You're not even professional, my auntie. Yeah, please don't get involved in this whirlpool. Little guys like us will die miserably. After Yates heard this, he turned to Cai Qinghu, smiled with narrowed eyes, and said softly. Young Master Han's temperament and personality are not suitable for too fancy outfits, and his hairstyle and appearance are not suitable for too formal suits. You can choose Korean casual suits to avoid dressing up too old-fashioned. After saying this, the three girls walked away together. After they left, Cai Qinghu showed no reaction, while Yan Qingqing's face was livid with anger. She stepped forward and looked at Han Qian's clothes, frowning and saying angrily. Is she saying that my vision is not good? Is she good? Cai Qinghu curled his lips and shrugged. Who knows? Anyway, I didn't buy this suit. Yan Hu, you should learn from this. Everything about Lushenga was arranged by Yates. She does have better taste than you. What do I think of Han Qian now? What's so ugly about what you're wearing? Cai Qinghu, get out of here. Seeing that the two women were about to fight, Han Qian ran away. He couldn't persuade them, so he could only run. By the time Han Qian walked around the resort and entered the main hall, the dinner had already begun. The company's dinner was still very formal, not a buffet, but a rich seafood feast. Han Qian casually pulled up a chair and sat down. He didn't recognize anyone at the table. Everyone looked at Han Qian. Han Qian looked at everyone confused and asked in a low voice. Isn't this a glorious party? Well, Mr. Han, the party of glory and enjoyment is in Hall B. This is Hall A. You are in the wrong place. Boshun City is here? Han Qian didn't know them, but did they know the famous Han Qian? Han Daxianer stood up in embarrassment and turned around to run away. How could he go to the wrong door? What nonsense are you thinking about? He was walking in a hurry and bumped into someone when he was going out. The unreasonable Han Qian raised his head and became furious. You are not long. Brother-in-law. Han Qian raised his head and frowned at this person, his tone full of disgust. Who are you? Huh? Brother-in-law, you are right. We haven't seen each other for a long time. The last time we met was at the Wen family's annual meeting. When are you? Han Qian slapped his forehead and said. Wang Kai. Lu Guangming hasn't fired you yet? I have to say that you and when are you insist on introducing a blind date to my wife. You two really understand what you are doing. Step aside. Don't block the road. Wang Kai looked embarrassed and said quickly. Brother-in-law, please don't get excited. That's just drunken nonsense. My brother-in-law realizes his mistake. Your sister also wants to come and apologize, but don't just stop it. You and when are you have always been fine and I've given you face. As for your brother, that pig, still wants to spy on my wife? If you are in Moji, I will have him fired immediately. If you are in Moji, I will have Lu Guangming fire you too. Get out. As for Wang Kai and when are you, Han Qian was determined to kill them. If it weren't for Wen Shu's reasons, Han Qian would have given Lu Guangming a favor and let him fire Wang Kai. Ignoring Wang Kai, such people will never interact with anyone in the future. There is no need to leave a way out. When Han Qian arrived in Hall A, Wu Qingxi was already on stage. Han Qian bent over and trotted to Su Liang and sat down. Su Liang asked with a frown. What are you doing here? I'm almost becoming a public enemy just to occupy a position for you. Hearing this, Han Qian raised his head and looked at the people on the table. Why are they all women? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 460. Wan Fang and Li Li are good friends, and Yao Shui and Wu Siguan are also familiar. Shan Shan and Qian Wan must be sitting at this table. It cannot be said that they are all women. Su Liang and Lu Zhulang are also there, and Yates is naturally sitting here too. Before Han Qian could say anything, little Yang Jie ran over in a hurry, pressed Han Qian's shoulders with his hands, and said coquettishly. Qian brother you go to Mr. Yan's table and let's switch. The pressure at that table is too great. I can't bear it anymore. Han Qian turned around and looked into the distance. With just one glance, he felt that the aura emanating from the table was really quite big. Warm, Yan Qing Qing, Cai King Hu. These three women can be said to be the top ones among women of the same age in the city. Gao Xing, Lu Shenga, Lin Zongheng, and Wei Tiancheng. The combined wealth of these four men is worth half of the companies in the city. There is also a man who looks very similar to Lu Shenga. Why are these guys gathered at the same table? Han Qian gently patted his little hand on his shoulder and looked at Yates. Who is that guy? I've never seen him before. Yates picked the shrimp with his gloves, poured a small bowl with sauce, placed it in front of Han Qian, and said softly. Lu Shenguo, Lu Shenga's younger brother, is a pervert with an IQ and EQ of over 100. He has no legitimate livelihood. He ran a company that went bankrupt. He gives people the impression of an idle prodigal. His personality is somewhat opposite to Lu Shenga's. Lu Shenga's younger brother? Han Qian became interested and asked softly. Which is the opposite? Believing in love is like a licking dog, very naive. Wu Sijuan couldn't help laughing. Han Qian thought for a moment and picked up the bowl filled with shrimp meat, picked up his chopsticks and stood up to leave. Little Yang Jie naturally sat in Han Qian's seat. Su Liang said angrily. You are not from the general department. Xiao Yang Jie retorted. Neither does Lily. She married into the general department. My sister is the head of the general department. You're awesome. Little Yang Jie put on her gloves and ate her food, not caring about image at all, or in her eyes, eating was more important than anything else, and she didn't gain weight yet. Han Qian took the bowl and walked to sit next to Yan Qing Qing, placed the shrimp meat in his hand in front of Yan Qingqing, and smiled softly at Lu Shengguo. "Brother, I look surprised." Yan Qingqing was a little confused by the bowl of shrimp meat in front of her. Seeing the shrimp threads being cleaned cleanly, Yan Qingqing knew immediately that it was not Han Qian who had dialed it, but now the three girls only gave it to her, which made Yan Qingqing was very satisfied, eating shrimp meat in small bites, not paying attention to the things on the table. When Han Qian came, she had something to rely on. Warm hands fell on Han Qian's waist, and Lu Shengge spoke. "Let me introduce to you, my brother Lu Shengguo, Xiao. This is the famous Han Qian, young Master Han." Lu Shengguo smiled and nodded to Han Qian. Han Qian curled his lips and sighed. "Hey. I'm afraid I'll be notorious." Lu Shengguo replied softly. Young Master Han is joking. It seemed that the atmosphere at the dinner table was a little solemn because of Han Qian's arrival. Naturally, Han Qian had no reason to stay here. He stood up and went to another table. At the same time, Wu Qingxi also completed her task and was already hungry. She changed her clothes and was looking for a suitable place to eat. Looking around, she saw Han Qian, who was also wandering aimlessly. She picked up her skirt and ran all the way to catch up with Han Qian. He whispered after getting closer. "Han Qian, find me a place where I can eat. I'm so hungry." Han Qian said doubtfully. "You can just find a place to eat, ah. No, you have to pay attention to your image, come with me." Bringing Wu Qingxi to the table in the general department, Yates hurriedly stood up to make way for his seat, and asked the waiter for a new set of tableware to put on the table. This woman had a strong ability to observe people's emotions, which also saved Han Qian's money. A moment of trouble. Pressing Wu Qingxi's shoulders and pushing her onto the chair, she said softly. "Eat here. This table is full of my friends. You can open your mouth and eat. But, as a reward, you have to agree to the little requests of these little girls after the meal." Wu Qingxi was really hungry and mumbled while eating. "I've prepared the gift, but don't forget what you promised me. I'll be looking for you tomorrow, but you won't eat it?" "I'm not hungry." "Pay attention to your image, so many people are looking at you." Look, I'm eating with my head down and can't tell. I'm going to starve to death if I'm paying attention to my image." Han Qian raised his eyebrows and sighed, not knowing what to say. The party went well, however. Han Qian discovered something. He had never seen Jijing, Yang Lan, and Yu Shisai. Logically speaking, these three women should have appeared in the hall. Han Qian asked Xiao Yangjie softly, and Xiao Yangjie told Han Qian that I don't know where the person went, he left in a hurry. "What's going on?" He took out his cell phone and dialed Jijing's number. When he was about to hang up, the call was connected. Han Qian frowned and asked. "Aunt Ji, where are you?" "Eldest nephew, I am, where am I?" Jijing's voice on the phone was a little stiff, as if she was deliberately hiding something from Han Qian, and the last sentence didn't seem to be an answer to Han Qian. Before Han Qian could speak, Yu Shisai's voice came over the phone. "Han Qian? He can go wherever you tell him to cool off. I've never seen such a stingy man." Assistant Yu said carefully, "In fact, Han Qian is not rich either, but the girls around him are richer, and he is also in a lot of difficulties." This was Yang Ian's voice. "Did these three girls get together?" Han Qian frowned and asked again. "Aunt Ji, are you not at the resort?" I am I here or not?" Han Qian hung up the phone directly. What kind of bad news did these three women get together to study? Not afraid of the sky, not the earth, not Feng Lun, not afraid of Lu Shengge, just afraid that these girls would get together to study something. When Han Qian was about to inquire about these three girls, Lu Shengguo came over and faced Yechi said hello. Sister Yezi, I didn't expect to meet you here. I heard from my brother that you resigned. I haven't seen you for a long time. Hug. The guy said this and was about to hug Yates, but Yates pushed his shoulders with both hands and said anxiously. Second young master. Please respect yourself. Sister Yezi doesn't love me anymore. This guy pretended to be aggrieved, which made Han Jian want to give this guy a kick. He resisted the urge to do it and tilted his head and asked. Young Master Lu is not weaned yet? If you are pestering my assistant like this, I will call Lu Shengge to come over and beat you. Lu Shengge was slightly startled, looked at Han Jian and whispered. Sister Yezi is your assistant? Otherwise, if you sell Sister Yezi to me, I will give you whatever the price is. Han Jian frowned and shouted to Lu Shengge in the distance. You Diaji, your brother wants to resell people. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 461. This shout was more attractive than Wu Qingxi. Lu Shengge, who was chatting with Wei Tiancheng about building materials cooperation, changed his expression instantly, not because of Han Jian's shouting, but because of this unreliable Lu Shengge. Lu Shengge smiled apologetically at a few people. I'm going to take care of some housework. Lu Shengge walked towards Han Jian and was slightly startled when he saw Yeji. Yates also saw Lu Shengge and hid behind Han Jian with fearful eyes. Lu Shengge gave her growth and glory, but also gave her darkness. During the years, Han Jian reached out and pulled Yates, put his arm around her shoulders and pouted at Lu Shengge. Your brother wants to spend money to buy Yates. Does that count as human trafficking? Lu Shengge sighed and said softly. If you cause trouble to Mr. Han and Miss Ye, I will teach him a lesson. After he finished speaking, he slapped Lu Shengge on the back of the head and said angrily. Do you think this is at home or abroad? Lu Shengge, remember, don't bring back those broken rules you did abroad. If I catch you once, you will go back to the capital immediately. But Sister Yeze. Shut up. Apologize to Miss Ye. Lu Shengge came to Yates like a child, but she still asked Han Jian reluctantly, but Lu Shengge grabbed her by the collar and dragged her away. Han Jian looked at the backs of the Lu brothers, curled his lips, and whispered. Why does Lu Shengge look like an unweaned child? Pa. His paws look pretty white. I said, have you touched your paws enough? Han Jian placed his hands on Yates's waist, and Yates answered Han Jian's questions head-on. Lu Shengge is not as simple as you think on the surface. He has been pretending to be stupid outside to protect himself. The Lu family belongs to Lu Shengge and his reputation has been ruined. He does all the shameful things just to keep his brother safe. After inheriting the family business, I don't know much about Lu Shengge. Oh. Are you afraid of Lu Shengge? There are only two people in this city who are not afraid of Lu Shengge. Do I know those two? Guan Degu is not afraid of death, Han Daxian is shameless, Lin Zongheng is also a little afraid of Lu Shengge, Qian Ling is even more so, because Qian Wan is still alive. So I'm pretty awesome. No. Han Qian, you are so stupid. You don't want your life. If you want to fight with Lu Shengge to the end, I can help you, but only if you can protect my safety. He has ruined my life. Life? I'm just paving a road for you. If it's a big deal, it might not be too smooth. Just change to a pair of flat shoes. Han Jian and Yates' conversation ended here. When Han Jian raised his head and was about to scratch his head, Yates quickly took a step across and glared at Han Jian. On the other side, Lu Shengge frowned and looked at Lu Shengge, who was smoking, and said in a low voice. Dage, are you so afraid of this Han Jian? He humiliated you and even brought Yates over. This is clearly. Okay. Why are you so excited? Who will I be afraid of with my half-broken body? But I can't die yet. I don't want Han Qian to target you. This guy is very dangerous. If he says a word, Tu Xiao may come and chop him tonight. You. Lu Shenggu's voice was very calm, but Lu Shenggu looked very excited and said angrily. Cut me? Am I afraid? No, 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 our Lu family has always lost its dog, and that's me. This is not a matter of fear or fear. I, the older brother, have to protect my younger brother's safety. If you inherit the family business, I won't worry about you. Why should I inherit the family business? When my father died, he said that you should inherit the family business. I will be the second-generation ancestor. I inherited nothing. I don't even have a child. I'll adopt you. Go away, pack up, and go back to the capital. Don't get involved in this whirlpool. Feng Lun may not suddenly pop up and stir up trouble at any time. Be obedient. Why do you feel like you are my brother? Fart, I'm your brother, don't always call me De Gear, I'm not the name of the humming song. Brother, where are the nursery rhymes? I'll beat you to death, you're a nursery rhyme. The relationship between the brothers is really good. The party was coming to an end, and many people had left early. People who were close to Han Qian stayed at the resort. Han Qian held a bowl of rice and stuffed it into his mouth. Qian Wan squatted aside with mineral water in his hand. Said softly. I asked you to eat just now, but you didn't. Now you are sitting here eating, are you stupid? Han Qian glanced at Qian Wan with displeased eyes. Qian Wan slapped Han Qian on Suliang's back and said suddenly. I forgot you don't eat seafood, why are you so picky? I'm not a picky eater, I just have a taboo. Give me some water. While Han Qian was eating, Cai Qinghu also came over. Han Qian drank water and looked at Cai Qinghu and Wu Qingxi. He drank most of the bottle in one go, lowered his head and continued to eat, and said vaguely. Don't hang around me, as if you're looking at monkeys. Can you go home? If you don't go home, I'll have someone open a room for you in the resort. Liang go talk to the person in charge, and I'll eat. Just went back. Suliang and Han Qian were not polite. They stood up and took everyone to the room. Han Qian stood up after finishing his meal. Cai Qinghu asked Han Qian softly where he would sleep at night. Han Qian spoke immediately. Go home. Cai Qinghu's face was slightly disappointed. Wu Qingxi pulled Cai Qinghu and asked her to stay and sleep with her in compensation. A cigarette after a meal is better than a living god. Han Qian walked out of the hall and stood at the door to light a cigarette. As soon as he took a puff, he saw Ji Jing and Yu Shisai sneaking up the path and disappearing all night. They were finally caught. Han Qian shouted. Aunt Ji. Ah! Great nephew. Ji Jing stood obediently, while Yu Shisai gritted his teeth and said angrily. Why did you promise him? He can't see clearly at night. The sound reached Han Qian's ears clearly, and Han Qian was furious. Yu Shisai, do you still want to run away? Didn't you just scold me on the phone? You also taught Ji Jing bad words, don't move there, I will go over and beat you to death. Han Qian threw away the cigarette in his mouth and ran towards the two of them. As soon as he took a step, he saw a black shadow speeding past behind the two of them, running towards the main entrance of the resort. Han Qian exclaimed in surprise. What fun! Ah! Yao Yao, please slow down. Aunt Ji. Can't you keep your mouth shut? Even the nursery rhyme said don't let Han Qian see her. Han Qian is chasing after her, ah! Why are you going, Han Qian? Didn't you come here to teach her a lesson? Me. How could Han Qian have time to talk to Yu Shisai at this time? The monster nursery rhyme is back and is still avoiding him. Little monster, if I don't catch you today, I won't be a good man. But Han Qian underestimated the speed of the nursery rhyme. The monster seemed to be wearing high heels, and Han Qian roared. Tanjeo, stop the hell. I will never beat you to death. An angry shout gave Lu Shengguo, who was already depressed, a fighting spirit. That nursery rhyme? Several Jianbu rushed towards Han Qian, grabbed his shoulders and said angrily. If you want to be violent to nursery rhymes, Han Qian, are you a man? Little pacifier, get the hell out of here. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 462. The nursery rhyme was running, Han Qian chased the nursery rhyme, and Lu Shengguo chased Han Qian. Gradually, Lu Shengguo lost her strength. She bent over and gasped for air, watching the two monsters go away as if she didn't know how tired they were. What are these two things? Child monster, stop the hum or I won't beat you to death. Lun, the Lun family is not a nursery rhyme. Listening to Tong Yao's pretended voice while pinching his nose, Han Qian almost crashed into a street lamp. Tong Yao ran all the way down the mountain. The shoes on his feet were no longer thrown away. Han Qian was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. The speed of the two gradually slowed down, but they were still separated by a distance of more than 10 meters. Han Qian shouted in a rough dress. Don't run away, I won't hit you. Don't beat me. You can't beat me to death. Don't worry, I'm not pregnant. You. Just as he said the word you, a strong wind blew past him. Looking at the figure rushing towards nursery rhyme, Han Qian's pupils dilated. This figure looked familiar to him, and he had a very bad feeling about it. Hook the cannon. Nurse rhyme, run. Although he had already opened his mouth, he was still too slow. Tong Yao was directly pressed to the ground by Gu Pao. Tong Yao let out a wail. The knees of his pants were torn and his palms were full of blood. Tong Yao wailed and cursed Han Qian. I've been stabbed 1,000 times, you've been so cruel to me. Before he finished speaking, Go De Pao grabbed Tong Yao's hair and dragged her into the woods on the roadside. In the ice and snow, in the wilderness, Han Qian was kicked by Go De Pao in the chest as soon as Han Qian rushed forward. Han Qian, who had no physical strength to begin with, was kicked by Go De Pao. He kicked out of the woods, and when Han Qian stood up and was about to take action, the trembling sound of nursery rhymes came over. Han Qian, don't be impulsive, knife, 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 it's on my neck. Han Qian calmed down, lowered his voice and pretended to be calm, and said in a low voice. It just so happens that I also want to arrest this woman. Go De Pao, give her to me, and I will give you a satisfactory answer. Wearing a peaked cap, the short knife in his hand shone with cold light. If the people in front of him were Feng Lun and Kui Li, Han Qian wouldn't panic. Those two grandsons would still have a bottom line, but the bastard Go De Pao didn't. Go De Pao spoke in a low and hoarse voice. Stop talking nonsense, come with me. Doesn't it matter to you that the woman Han Qian chased for 4 or 5 miles? I heard it all at the resort. This woman said she must not be caught by you, you scumbag. You pervert, you have the nerve to talk to me. Han Qian's temper grew, and he was immediately scolded by Tanjeo. You have provoked him, and I am in his hands, Han Qian. I ruined your child, you have to save me. Han Qian gritted his teeth and roared. You're pregnant with your grandma. You ran more than 2,000 meters in one breath when you were pregnant. If you weren't pregnant, you would have to fly, right? Then please save me quickly. In TV dramas, aren't all male heroes saving beauties? Why don't you be the hostage instead? Watch less stupid TV series. Han Qian and Tong Yao started to fight with each other. Go De Pao picked up the dagger handle and hit Tong Yao on the head, saying angrily. Can you two respect me? Han Qian, do you still want to move? The moment Go Depeo picked up the dagger, Han Qian was ready to attack, but he was still too slow. He raised his hands helplessly and said softly. Don't get excited, don't get excited, Go Depeo, let me ask you something. You followed me from the resort, right? Go Depeo looked at Han Qian with cold eyes and growled. Take off your shirt, I'm worried you have a gun. Han Qian's arbitrariness and recklessness really frightened Go Depeo. He shot him in public, and now it was as if nothing happened. Instead, he became a wanted criminal. This made Go Depeo very afraid of Han Qian. Han Qian clicked nodding, he slowly unzipped his clothes and said softly. I'll take it off, I'll take it off. I want to ask you, did you see a puppy when you went down the mountain? The dog didn't see it, but it saw someone. He yelled at me and asked me to go back and tell his driver to pick him up. I knocked him unconscious and threw him into the mountain. Han Qian took off his suit jacket and threw it in the snow, saying softly. Do you need to take off your pants? Stop humming nonsense and come with me. Hey, Power, do you know who the person you knocked unconscious is? This guy's status is not low. Han Qian is stalling for time. Are Jijing and Yu Shisai fools? Why don't you come find them too? Lu Shengge didn't notice that his brother had been knocked unconscious. Why is there not a single car going down the mountain? Go Depeo asked with a frown. How can a person with a driver be of low status? Don't humming delay, just come with me. He is Lu Shengge's biological brother. When the words came out, Go Depeo was stunned. Then he ignored Han Qian and walked into the forest with Tong Yao. Han Qian chose the wrong topic. Go Depeo was afraid of Lu Shengge. Entering the woods, Go Depeo asked Han Qian to throw away his mobile phone. If he couldn't throw away one, he had to throw away the second one as well. Han Qian's refusal resulted in blood stains on Nursery Rhyme's neck. Han Qian had to do it. He really didn't want it. Dare to risk the Nursery Rhyme's life to test the hook cannon. When entering the mountain, Go Depeo did not dare to turn his back to Han Qian. Han Qian kept bending over, which made Go Depeo a little nervous. He had heard too much about Han Qian. He beat his former inmate Daniel to death, and then beat the toad violently. Zhang Gang had an affair with Feng Lun on the boat again. In Go Depeo's eyes, Han Qian's combat effectiveness was unknown. He didn't think he could beat Han Qian. Seeing that he was getting further and further away from the road, Han Qian stopped and spoke. Go Depeo, I've never been able to figure it out. Even if you know the secret Feng Lun gave me, what's the use of taking it? You don't need to worry about it. Now you ask and answer, otherwise I will slash this little girl's face. Okay, you ask. Han Qian simply sat cross-legged on the ground and looked at Go Depeo very calmly. Han Qian's calm performance made Go Depeo a little confused and asked in a low voice. Where is Feng Lun? Han Qian sighed after hearing this. I thought you were going to ask something. Feng Lun is in Vietnam, and Kui Li has been staring at me here. He is also at the resort tonight. You should know each other. Go Depeo ignored Han Qian's words and said again. How many officials in the city have evidence of guilt in your hands? There are more than 60 people. The rest are in Feng Lun's hands. There are many people involved in the danger. Whose evidence do you want? I can teach you a way. Who hired you? I will teach you whose evidence Yamanman. When the time comes, you and I will join forces. Have you heard a saying in a certain cartoon, I am the leaf bathing in the sun, and you are the root that stabilizes the foundation. After dark, this city is yours to decide. Han Qian, do you think I'm stupid? Stop talking nonsense and tell me everything you know. Then I can talk to you all night. If you tell me who you want, you have to ask a detailed question. Otherwise, tell me what you want me to answer. Whose evidence do you want to ask for? I will tell you. Cheng Jin's. Are you sick? Cheng Jin was at the Mid-Autumn Festival party that night. Go De Peo became a little anxious and roared at Han Qian. Han Qian, don't play tricks on me here, you must have something to do with the government office. Han Qian stood up and slowly walked towards Go De Peo, laughing softly. You are an idiot. You bite me and won't let go. What can you do if the handle at his yamen door is given to you? You can't cover it with your hands. Go De Peo said angrily. You are passive. Han Qian immediately shouted angrily. Kui Li, you're finally here. Someone is coming? Go De Peo was stunned for a moment, and then there was severe pain in the thumb of the dagger. The dagger in his hand fell to the ground. Go De Peo was about to pick up the dagger when he bent down and Han Qian put his foot on his Tianling Gai. Go De Peo sat back on the ground, covering his bloody hands, and growled. Han Qian, are you trying to frame me? As soon as he finished speaking, the guy took out a pistol from his arms.